Cinematic storytelling, amazing graphics. These may be the hallmarks of modern gaming, and in some ways they are the natural evolution of gaming overall, but sometimes they can become the only focus for some developers and game franchises to the point where it starts to degrade the very thing that should be the main focus, playing a game. I started out trying to think about past games that promised amazing graphics and maybe some gameplay elements that never really worked out, then shifted to this push for cinematic storytelling in gaming. So then let's look at examples of both and try to decide if it works or ultimately if we need to shift back a bit to the old days. First up is a game that promised amazing graphics and the introduction of a new form of control. Dragons and flying around a semi-open area fighting? That sounded amazing to me. Lair was such an amazing looking, amazingly bad game. The 6-axis controller that didn't need rumble because it was a last-gen feature made the game almost unplayable, but it sure did look good. The focus on graphics and one element of control didn't do anything to make the game, well, a game. Another example of this is a game called Heavenly Sword. Dubbed Goddess of War, this game showed off the Cell processor and the PlayStation 3. Amazing cinematic storytelling and mind-blowing in-game visuals. But when you're, in-game, it's not much of a game. Again, a heavy focus on wowing you visually, but not much of a focus on the gameplay being the hook. You want to go back even further? Before we do, look at that. That is amazing. How about PlayStation 2 and a game called HurdyGurdy? The emotion engine of the PlayStation 2 was delivering Saturday morning cartoon animation and visuals. Then I actually played it because, it's a game, and in the rush to make the visuals the selling point, the game was almost unplayable. This is the first time that I really paid attention to the word frame rate. As a kid, when things slowed down on the screen, I thought that the developers were trying to help me get past a hard part, as it always slowed down when things heated up in the game. Nope, it wasn't them trying to help, it was the machine trying to keep up. This game looked great, had lots of new-gen effects, but again, the actual gameplay part of, the video game was an afterthought. Or how about Fable Legends? Kinect motion controls. Like Lair, it looked good, but the focus on things other than creating a competent video game that can be played and more of a focus on everything other than playing managed to completely destroy what must have been the original intent. That's getting gamers to play. This is where the video gets spicy. God of War Ragnarok. While I did enjoy the game and loved the character development and story, there were times that this unholy union of cutscene and gameplay reared its ugly head. If you want to tell a story, then tell it. Giving me limited control over a character while heavy dialogue and story elements are being conveyed isn't gameplay. Moving a giant beast straight ahead while the story is being told doesn't count, especially when all it does is serve to slow down the actual gameplay that you've just experienced up to that point. Remember Metal Gear Solid 4? Remember the critique of the cutscenes being too long? Well, think about it. Kojima told the story through the cutscenes, and then you're given control to play the actual game. The scenes serve to set up the gameplay rather than meld them together and remind you that now you essentially can't play the game while you're playing the game. I think the cutscenes serve a real purpose, and in the medium of video games, to remove them or blend them into something that isn't gameplay is a mistake. Let's get back to a separation of the two. With a cutscene, it's time to learn something about the story, and then it's time to play the game when the cutscene is over. Simply keeping the player's hands on the controller pushing up isn't enough to say it's gameplay. So in the end, this was just some of the games I feel were examples of this separation I'm talking about, and hopefully the push for realism doesn't get too real. Let me know what you think, and are there even more examples of games that do what I've talked about in this video? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.